So let's have a look at some different sign up boxes. When we want someone to sign up to our newsletter, we have to give them an entry point. And there's 3 different types of sign up options typically that we can use. There's a squeeze page, a sign up form, and a pop-up box. Now we're going to mention these throughout the course and we'll be talking about them, but for now let's just have a look at some examples of these. Now the first example we want to show you here is a squeeze page. What is a squeeze page? A squeeze page is a page where we've taken them and there's only really 2 options on the page. And let me just show you those 2 options. We've got a big green button here. We've pointed them to the page from some type of content. We said, come here for some free training. They come to the page and it's literally a whole page. That's why it's called a squeeze page. The reason it's called a squeeze page because we're squeezing them into 1 or 2 decisions. If you notice, we don't have stuff down the side here. We don't have other information. We've even removed all the website sign-ins across the top. Now I use Squarespace, and Squarespace have an option where you can create these simple pages. Depending on your website, you'll find different ways of doing this, but the important thing is to switch the menu bar off of the top. So we don't want people to be able to click home or anything else. We want them to have 2 choices, free training or back. These are the 2 choices. And that's why it's called a squeeze page, because psychologically we're squeezing them to a decision. So this is a very powerful way to get someone to take action. And as you notice, we've got the nice green button, which is go. And we've got a little bit of copy on the page just to encourage them, explain to them what they're going to get when they come through here. Now, one of the main things to understand is we need to keep the number of clicks low. We need to keep the number of actions someone has to take to get to a newsletter sign up as small as possible. So in this instance, we would push them here. There's 1 click and 1 click away. And when they click that, they're going to come through to an enrollment page of some type. So that's a squeeze page. So the next thing we need to look at is a sign up form. We're going to use a very simple business example here so you can see how a local business might use this type of sign up. So this is Posh Pies. They sell high quality homemade pies. And if we scroll down to the bottom, in the footer, and it's important we make a note of this on this particular website, we have a sign up form. Now you'll notice we've kept it to first name, last name, email address. When people create sign-up forms, they fall into the temptation of asking for people for too much information. So this is really, really simple. It's first name, last name, email address. And a lot of the time in a sign-up form, when we take them through to the form part, so the squeeze page normally takes them through to the sign-up part, you have to create some type of account or login when you access a newsletter list normally. So first name, last name, email address, nice and simple. So what we need to notice here is we've got this in the footer. Why have we got this in the footer? Because this is a particular style of sign up, this is a discount club. If they come into this club, they're going to get weekly emails with offers of discounts in the pie shop. It's the Premier Pie Club. So we want to make sure this is an option on every page. And the best way to do that, if you want to sign up on every page, is put it in the footer. Now you can put it in other places, you can put it higher up the page, but we always recommend at least have it in the footer, especially if it's this type of business where you want people to sign up to a discount club or something like that, make it available on every page. Now you can obviously have sign up boxes anywhere on the page, so you'll see that sometimes, different ways of signing up to the emails with calls to action. Now one of the things we have to think about as well is make it very clear the call to action, make it very clear what they're signing up to and what they're going to get. So Posh Pies regular, sign up to the Premier Pie Club to receive exclusive weekly discounts and special offers that will save you tons. So it's a really simple call to action, and make sure you follow that promise up. Don't then just send them emails telling you what you did at the weekend or something. If they're expecting discount emails, you have to carry that through. So that's an example of a sign-up form, an open sign-up form on a web page. So now what we've got as well is a pop-up box. Now I don't use pop-up boxes, but typically a pop-up box will do something like this. It will appear on the page as you hit it. And I'm not a big fan of pop-up boxes. I think it's interruption marketing, but we talk about how and when to use them later on if you are going to use them. If you use them in the right way, they can be very powerful. Now, this is a really simple form pop-up. It's asking for the first name, last name, and email. And then it's also making sure they have to tick this to actually go through. So if I fill all this out and this bit here is not ticked, this form will not send, and it will tell them they need to tick that box. So most form builders online for email marketing are going to have this. And we're going to talk about some bad email pop-up styles in the next lecture. So that's really simple. That's a pop-up box. It pops up, it interrupts you. Obviously, this one isn't a true pop-up because I clicked it, but it would be pretty much the same. And usually it has a strong sense of urgency or a strong sense of value in the copy. So what I'd recommend you do as you start browsing the internet now and you start seeing pop-up boxes, start examining what works, what doesn't work, what annoys you, what you like, because that's going to really help you going forward. And then choose a style of box, a style of sign up, or use different variations, but use the one you think is actually going to be something that your potential customer is going to like. And when we think about this, let's just quickly have a look at, let's go back a bit. So here's a squeeze page. So that's very direct. You're saying to people you don't have a choice here. But this is very light sign up, the Posh Pies footer, because it's on every page. But it's a very small call to action. Now, one of the things to remember with any type of sign up, if you get it above the fold, then you're going to get more action. So in that one, it's in the footer and it doesn't look like we're above the fold, but if we click get discounts, it takes us to the footer. So that's all we did there is we had a little button that took us to the footer. So if you're not doing your own website, and you want something like that, just have a word with your web developer. You can always show this example, say, look, I want something like this, get discounts, and it goes through. So in a sense, the actual footer is actually on a button here, which I can access. So you want to make sure that the call to action is available on your pages. So this is very light, and then a pop-up box is quite strong as well. That's interruption marketing. I think this is the most intrusive of the three, but it can work when you want to catch a casual browser who's coming across your content. And sometimes if you don't have a sign up or you don't have access to your newsletter list, someone's going to come on your website and not even realize it exists. So that's something to think about. You might put it so that pop-up box springs up at the end of an article when they scroll down. We'll talk about that later. And always try and give them an opportunity or a route back to your newsletter. And just to illustrate that a little bit more, let me go to my homepage and show what that would look like. So here I am on my homepage. And as you can see, I always make sure there's a route to my newsletter. So here's my newsletter. You can sign up. And if you want to access it on any page, there's always a route to my newsletter. So that's something to think about. But obviously, you've got to give them a strong enough transactional value reason to actually sign up for that. And we'll talk about that later.